use Zendesk for email support, you get award-winning, world-class help desk software. But when you also use Zendesk for live chat and messaging, phone calls, and managing your knowledge base, you have what's called an omni-channel solution. It's kind of like a secret recipe for offering better, integrated customer service more efficiently without compromise. First of all, Zendesk Guide lets more of your customers help themselves. And according to the research, a lot of them don't really even want to talk to you anyway. No offense, it's just easier for them. When more complicated issues come up, customers will easily connect to a real person through chat, message, and talk. Since the tools are connected, all your conversations can flow between channels, no matter what channel they started from. Email, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube comment, and they all get organized inside of support. It's a single interface where your agents have all the information, all the context, and all the tools they need to solve issues, which improves job satisfaction. No matter how you grow or how fast, Zendesk helps you stay agile. You'll easily add channels, quickly add agents, and customize your support offering. You'll see value right away, and even as you scale, you'll be known for a better customer experience. You can call it omnichannel, but we just call it Zendesk.
Thanks, everybody. Hi. So full disclosure, yesterday when the Jive guy showed his video, I said, I'm not going to let Jive out-video Zendesk, so I shot this video over to Carrie, and they put it into the presentation last minute, so thank you, Carrie, for your flexibility. I'm John Sampson. I am the Director of Worldwide Partner Marketing from Zendesk. Today, I'm just going to go through a little bit about what we do as a company, our journey with ImpartnerCON over the last 14 months or so, and then go into, as Dave said, a little bit about what we've been doing with MDF. So we are a software company, customer service software company. We're very focused on building software that helps companies create better or great customer experiences for their customers. So quick show of hands, how many people took an Uber or a Lyft in your journey to get here this week, either to the airport or back? Okay. Few of you. How many of you have left something in an Uber or a Lyft and had to, okay, is it a good story? Did you lose anything good? Or?
My cell phone.
Cell phone, okay, yeah, common story. So recently a good friend of mine was traveling on an international business trip, took a Lyft to the airport, got to SFO, she had bags to check, rushed into the United, checked her baggage, turned around, got ready to go through security and realized, I left my laptop in the car. What do I do? She's about to get on a 10-hour flight, and she panicked. But then she said, well, I took a Lyft, so she went to the Lyft app, went to the support section. There was a knowledge base article that gave her instructions to, if you left something in your car within the last 24 hours, what do you do? Contact Lyft. That request got routed to an agent. The agent was able to contact the driver. The driver was able to come back and get her laptop in time for her flight. So great customer experience. And as she was telling me the story, I'm like, okay, pretty cool. The software that you used to search for that article, submit a ticket, and the software that agent used to contact the driver and then get that laptop back to you, they use Zendesk. That was pretty cool. So that's what we do. We're very much focused on customer experience, using our products to do that. And we really focus on understanding customers, improve how you can communicate between your customers and your company, and then make sure, of course, first and foremost, we offer support when and where it's needed most through a variety of different channels, whether it be through a website, through chat, through a knowledge base, through voice. And then we also provide a suite of analytics to help you better understand your customers, and that's our Explore product. Everything we do is really built around some core values. So first and foremost, we're very much focused on making things easy to use and easy to implement. Everything has to be flexible. We've been an open API company since day one, so it's important for us to integrate with other technologies because we know that we can't do it all, but we want to enable people to get access to data and information where it resides quickly and easily. And then finally, we have a big focus on people. One of the things I really love about working at Zendesk is it is a people-first company, and we're very focused on hiring people who fit into the culture. It's actually, when we do hiring, it's one of the first criteria that we use to evaluate candidates, are they a good cultural fit? So we always want to make sure that our people feel like your people, and we take that into account in everything that we do, product design, delivery, pretty much everything. So when we set out, quote, I included this quote from Shopify. Shopify is a great customer as well as a great partner of ours. Zendesk has great software, and they've built a fantastic trust pact with us. If anything happens, Zendesk has our backs, and we have theirs. I just think this is a great quote because it talks about trust. And when we set out to look at a partner relationship management system, we had these core values as a company that were fundamental to what we do, and we knew it's important. We wanted to develop something that could enable us to build and continue to build trust with partners through a number of different ways. So the first thing we did was think about what's important to us as we look at PRM solutions. We were using a homegrown system. It was okay, but it wasn't going to get us to where we needed to be in the future. It wasn't going to enable us to scale. So we looked at it. We wanted to look at a solution, and we looked at all the usual suspects. We wanted to make sure we put partner first. We wanted to make sure we were able to capture better data for our own channel salespeople, better data for our partners. We wanted to make sure we had a tool that could help us communicate and collaborate more effectively. And then, of course, we wanted to be able to provide support when and where partners needed it. And last but certainly not least, it had to be easy to use. So we went out, did a search, and this is kind of a tough task coming from a company like ours that is so focused on customer experience. I think we set a pretty high bar for different vendors. So we found ImpartnerCON18. It actually came through our relationship we had through our channel sales director in Asia Pacific, which is kind of interesting. So we have very different organizations in each region, and trying to develop a global solution was a challenge. So we have an emerging channel in Latin America. We've developed some really good partnerships with companies in Mexico, Brazil, but it's still relatively in its infancy, only in the last couple of years. APAC is brand new for us. It's really an emerging region. We're starting to see pockets of success in places like India and places like Australia. Europe was very established. Our company was founded in Denmark, so we had a number of champions that became partners in Europe and have been with us for a long time. And we actually had a very established team in Europe that was managing those relationships. And then in the United States, we really we have a big network of technology partners, but from a sales perspective, we're mostly direct. And the intent is to change that in the future. So we knew we needed to build a strong foundation upon which we could scale. So how do you do that? Good luck. That was my job in October, November of 2016. So we found ImpartnerCON18, and we went all in. We did a complete rip and replace. We went all in with their core base partner relationship management system. One of the things that we thought ImpartnerCON18 did better than anybody else was their integration with Salesforce. And we really wanted to keep things simple for our sales team. They operate in Salesforce, so we wanted to keep that. We didn't want to introduce a new system for them to manage their relationships with partners. So that was sort of I think the key thing that brought us to where we are today, and really focused on the deal registration piece, managing leads, opportunities, accounts, contacts, all that sort of fundamental stuff. We went all in. The thing that we didn't account for when we did the rip and replace is we had this way of doing things in Salesforce that had been cobbled together over a period of about 5 years through different regimes, through different people in sales ops who thought, well, we should do things this way, we should do things that way. So we ended up with this big mess of fields and configurations and workflows in Salesforce that when we installed Impartner's managed package, we didn't account for the fact of how many things we had to undo. So that was sort of a tough lesson learned, and we didn't learn a lot of those things until after we went live in July of last year. So I guess, a lesson learned, if you're doing things a certain way in Salesforce and you want to introduce ImPartner, make sure you undo everything that you had in place before and try to start fresh and do a clean installation of the managed package. We also launched marketing development funds. I'll talk about that in a little bit. And we did something I think that is, in partner team, correct me if I'm wrong, we integrated Zendesk with ImPartner. So our partners, when they want support, they can either contact us through multiple different channels, one of them being the website or the partner portal. So we have ImPartner as the front end, but when a ticket gets submitted through the support section of the partner portal, it actually comes into Zendesk, and we were able to leverage we have a pretty significant support organization, so we were able to leverage that organization and the systems and processes that they've built inside of Zendesk to support our partners. And that was obviously, that's what we do, is a big requirement for us. So since we've been live, we've added the events module. So we've found that as a great way. That was actually something that we didn't count on, and we got a lot of feedback from each region that we really want a way of sharing events and information about where we're going to be on certain days. So we added the events module at the end of last year, and now we're in the process of translating the site from English into 7 additional languages, because we've seen great uptick in all the regions I mentioned before, and now our partners in Brazil and Mexico and Japan and Korea are saying, great experience, but we need it in local language. So that's a big effort, and we've been working with ImPartner on that. So going into MDF, so we wanted to make sure MDF was a closed loop cycle. So the challenge of developing a closed loop cycle, as you can see the circular diagram, is where do you start? Do you start from what you want to track and work backwards? Do you start with the process and move forwards? How do you even go about that? So the approach we took was we started with planning. How do we do planning with partners? And what we found in each region, everybody did planning with partners differently. So in Europe, we actually have partner marketing resources, dedicated full-time headcount, that their job is to work with strategic partners or our top-tier partners to develop quarterly demand generation plans, do planning with them. It's fairly structured. It's probably common to many of what you folks do in the audience. So that's great. That was sort of the simple model. We could account for that and then develop the MDF process to make sure we get good information in so we could process pre-approvals quickly, and then when the claim submission came in, we would just minimize the amount of friction and back and forth between partners. That was sort of the easy example. Then we went to Asia and found that, well, we don't have partner marketing people in Asia, but we have field marketing people that operate at a country level, and actually our field marketing people are dual tasked with doing direct sales, supporting direct sales, as well as partners. And they were out actively planning with partners as well, but they had a totally different way of operating, a totally different way of doing things, but yet everything had to come in through this same MDF process. So, okay, that was actually fairly straightforward as well once we understood what they were doing, but we had to provide clear expectations around what we need for that request and then the information around the claim. Then we went to Latin America and found that we don't have field marketing people, we don't have partner marketing people, but we have inside salespeople and direct field salespeople that are super engaged with partners and are actually doing some great planning work, but now you're introducing a marketing process to a sales team. Good luck with that. So we spent a lot of time just understanding what everybody was doing, and then kept in mind, okay, how can we make this easy for all of these stakeholders to use it? So we came up with some very simple instructions on, we kept everything in ImPartner very, very simple and straightforward. We tried to highlight on, at almost every field within both the request and claim forms to make sure everybody was super clear on what we were asking for so we could minimize the amount of back and forth and confusion when stuff came in. So we were able to do that, and the challenge we found with the supporting documentation when it came in is we actually got too much information. So after we did the design of all the forms and did the rollout, we did a series of, like other people mentioned in these presentations, we did a series of emails. We do use the in-product messaging feature and in Partner, we did webcasts. We found that we got too much information from partners on the request side, and we also got invoices on the request side. And so we had partners coming to us that said, I sent you my invoice, where's my money? It's like, well, did you submit a claim against that approved request? No, we didn't, because we sent it with the, so I think a key takeaway there is be careful what you wish for in a little bit. So we're in the process now of sort of retweaking the request form to make sure it's clear, do not send an invoice, you wait till you actually complete the activity and then submit the claim. Feels like, I mean, for us who work in the channel, that feels like it's probably straightforward, but for a lot of partners, especially outside of the United States, it was a unique challenge that we didn't expect. So then the next thing, I talked about the different experience in each region. We had an interesting experience with approvals. After we went live, we got a lot of feedback from each region that certain key people were not involved in the approval process. So we started executing campaigns with partners, and then certain people in field marketing or certain people in the sales organization didn't know what was going on, so they wanted better visibility. So we were able to quickly turn, because of the installation and the configuration with Salesforce, we were able to really quickly change all of the approval workflows to meet the demands of each region. And specifically, we have 3 different approval workflows for Europe and the United States are the same. We have a different one for Asia, and we have a different one for Latin America. And for me, when I first was getting this feedback, I was like, oh man, we just went live with this new system. Now we got to change it already. We're probably about 2 months in at this point. So then I sat and worked with our sales ops team and our IT team, and like, well, that's not a big deal. We can just change the workflows. I'm like, okay, this tool is pretty cool. That's great. And that was actually a big win for me and for our marketing ops and IT folks, because we were able to meet a request of the field. I think it is less than 2 weeks to do that. So, I think on the execution side, we've learned a lot. We're trying to really just focus on pipeline generation. So the challenge that we've seen on the execution side is we get some misinformation from partners. So we don't always get the right details, and people take for granted that if they just send in a request, they're going to get approved. So we've tried to put a lot of discipline in around in the expectations that are set with the request. So we try to, if somebody's going to execute, we set an expectation that you have to generate for every $1 we spend together, you have to get a 10-to-1 return. And that's the expectation we set up front. So we try to minimize the amount of, we really want to buy a suite at a football match and bring a bunch of people. It's like, well, that'd be great, but is that going to generate any demand for Zendesk? And if the answer is no, we'll actually deny that claim. So I talked about the challenge we had with claims. So the interesting thing that happened as we were going through this implementation, we rolled out a new procurement process. So I don't know if anybody's using Coupa. We rolled out Coupa worldwide, and in support of that implementation, we rolled out a series of new procurement processes and how we set up vendors, the downstream impact on accounts payable. So when we were doing the implementation work for ImpartnerCON, we didn't account for any of that. It was sort of a classic right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. So that took us by surprise, and so we had a whole slew of new requirements that came from procurement and accounts payable in the September timeframe. We went live in July of last year, and we're getting all these questions like, well, how do I do that from the people in the field? Like, how do I do this? How do I do that? How do we create a purchase rec? How do we track it with MDF? What does the partner need to know? So at first it was like, this isn't very fun. This is a lot of process-heavy stuff. But then what we found is we went and looked at just the standard way ImpartnerCON had set up both the claims and the fund requests, and looked at the fields that were created in ImpartnerCON and in Salesforce, and we found that, okay, well, as an example, we need to give partners a purchase order that they can include in their invoice when they submit for reimbursement. Well, hey, look at that. There's an approval PO field in ImpartnerCON. It's already there. They thought about it. I'm like, okay, cool. I guess we did make a good decision. So we found that stuff that we didn't even think about had already been thought through by the ImpartnerCON team, and we were able to take advantage of that and adapt a whole new series of procurement and accounts payable processes and systems into what we're doing for MDF already. And that was great. It was about 6 weeks of fright. I don't know what the right word is. I was really frustrated at first, but it went from this is a big mess to, oh yeah, we can take care of this in a very short amount of time. So last on this slide, we're still refining how we track and do our return on investment. The good news is, we get a lot of information from partners through both the requests and through the claims submission process. But then how does that flow back into how we use Salesforce to track leads is something we're still refining. But actually in the last couple of days, I've been talking to a couple of people in the Brain Lab, and I think we can solve it using our standard processes. And it was just some things we were thinking about differently than how ImpartnerCON is set up. And so the lesson learned is start with how does ImpartnerCON structure things, how are they set up, and try to work backwards from that, as opposed to try to reinvent a process that you have with your existing system. So in summary, we've learned a lot. It was not a perfect implementation, but overall, we've come a long way in a very short time. The fact that we did a complete rip and replace all at once, we launched we didn't do a pilot. We just went all in, global launch. July 11th, 2017. I remember the day well, and we've seen a really good uptick in terms of user adoption, and the utilization has been, I think, far exceeded our expectations when we initially set out. And key takeaways: start by putting partners first. That was our approach. That's done well for us. Also, we've learned that implementing a global framework is great, but you have to allow it to be flexible enough to enable regional adaptations and be open to adapting to regional adaptations. People don't do things the same way in every part of the world. And ultimately, build trust by being transparent. One of the things we found through the deal registration process is having the ability to share the same data that sits in an opportunity record or a lead record with a partner really goes a long way in building trust. And we actually added a field we just call Partner Notes. It's a field that partners can update, our salespeople can update, and it just keeps the ongoing dialogue between partners in that opportunity record. And that's really helped a lot. It seems like a simple thing, but it's that, having that one record that you can go back to and say, this is what we talked about on this date, and this is where we're going. This is the latest update from my conversation with the prospective end client. Really, really helps a lot. And at the end of the day, you want to empower your partners and their management teams, and we feel that our implementation of ImpartnerCON has done that. And certainly last but not least, just keep things simple and make it easy to use, and that goes a long way in keeping your partners happy and ultimately increasing the utilization for them and for the partner salespeople as well. So That's all I have. I'm happy to share any of our experiences with you. My email is jsampson, JSAMPSON, @zendesk.com. I should have had a slide with that up there. Feel free to send me an email, and happy to chat at any time. Thanks, guys.